Alright, and welcome back to Mama Sass's Life Unfiltered. And as I always like to say, it's raw, it's real, it's uncut, and it's unapologetic. So today's topic or episode is a little bit harder for me to talk about. It's one of those topics that I know I've definitely spoken about a few times to people, but not to this extent. I will bring an even deeper side to this in the behind the closed doors side, the behind paywall side of this podcast. But there is a lot that I can say over here still, and I know that not everyone can pay for that other side, and I didn't want to hide that away from the people who do love to listen to me. And I just hope that, as I say, I do my stories and talk about my life because I hope that it's going to help someone through their journey, because my journey has been a little bit harder, and probably if I had a little bit more help through it, I would have known these things sooner. But anyway, let's get on to today's topic, and let's start by saying I spent the first 41 years of my life not understanding why I couldn't stick to anything, why nothing ever felt like me, and why no matter what I did, it never lasted. For a long time, I didn't think that there was anything wrong with me. I just thought this is who I was. I did question things. I questioned a lot of things, but I just assumed I was very different to everybody else. I've had a lot of jobs, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot. Even from a really young age. When I was about 8, I didn't technically have a job as to say, but I used to work alongside my dad fixing lawnmowers. And anytime anyone came in that needed a recoil fixed, which is the pull start part of a lawnmower, that was my job. He'd just pass it to me, here, and you do that. I knew how to do it with my eyes closed. Then my parents owned a general store. My mum did own a clothing store at the same time as my dad having the lawn mowing shop, but I didn't really have much to do with that business of hers. I'm more stuck with my dad doing the lawn mowing. I'm a bit of a tomboy if you haven't figured that out already. So then, like I said, my parents owned a general store, and that shop had everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. It was a one-stop shop. It had newspapers, magazines, scratchies, alcohol, cigarettes, fast food, grocery line. It had a chemist side to it. I'm pretty certain if you probably named pretty much nearly anything to me, I'd nearly say it was there. So it was the one-stop shop for the whole town. And I worked there for a very long time. I mean a very long time. A very long time. It was a big part, which is why when I say in my videos a lot, or you hear me talk about stuff on live, I'm like, my parents owned a shop. And it's become a bit of a running joke, a little bit, especially between me and Mr. I don't know if you guys are in on the running joke with us or not, but I know a few people were picking up on it. Especially Mr. loves to make fun of me because I'm always like, my parents owned a shop, and he's like, oh, that shop that your parents owned. Yeah, sure, because it was a big part of my life. They did that when I was about 11, and I think they sold it when I was about 35, they just stopped, they closed it down, and then it ended up burning down. So from there, I moved in, this all happened, all of these things pretty much that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to go through a bit of a run of jobs that I've had just so that you can get an understanding of me before we go further into this topic. But whilst I was working at that shop, I'd then sort of, I'd get sick of doing that, so then I'd go and do something else, and I was always backwards and forwards a lot of this, or I wasn't living in the same town. So from there, I moved into all sorts of things, as I said. Farm work, I did cotton chipping and stick picking. Oh my lordy, those two are, they're hard work. Fruit picking, I picked oranges, strawberries, tomatoes, beans. I did some other farm work, which was more in the irrigation, side, I think that's the word, of it. I used to have to start pipes and also pull the pipes to water, like, cotton crops. I won't delve into how all that's done because, Then there was childcare. I absolutely loved working in childcare. I actually thought childcare was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. When I started doing it, it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. However, I'm still not in it, so obviously I didn't stick with it. I did furniture restoration, landscaping and gardening, running my own lawn mowing business, cleaning houses, detailing cars, worked in cafes, I did barista work, I worked at a cinema, I did kitchen hand stuff, motel cleaning, office work. And then there was my online stuff that I started only a few years ago. And I had a lolly business, a cup making business. I also did epoxy designs onto cups. I had a clothing business online. And every single time, it did honestly feel like this could be the thing. This is what I'm meant to be. Every single time. Every single time. But what I was really chasing was that feeling. That excitement. That this is it moment. And sometimes I truly believed it. This is what I'm meant to do. I'd say that so much. This is what I'm meant to do. Yeah, this is my career. I'm meant to be clothing business, a lolly business, I don't know, you name it, I'm meant to have done it all. But then, it would just disappear. I'd get so bored. Everything felt repetitive. And if you know me, and especially with my content and everything like that, I don't do repetitive very well. I can't constantly do the same thing. I just get so bored. And, once I'd figured it out, it was like, okay, I've achieved what I wanted. I'm done now. What else can I do? It was crazy. Even if there was more I could have done, like even if I could have actually turned any one of those businesses into, this massive money-making business that just, I'd never have to worry about single cent again in my life. I just couldn't keep doing it. I'd lost all interest. I was just done. And I didn't do things halfway either. When I did all of these things, it was all in or not at all. And I'm sorry, but not at all was not an option. So it was all in. I brought everything I needed. I set it up perfect. I made it look exactly like it should have. And I spent a lot of time, energy, and money in getting everything just the way it was supposed to be. And then, when I was done, I was done. I was selling things, giving things away, thousands of dollars just gone because I was over it. I didn't want to do it anymore. And that didn't just affect me. That affected my family too. And there was always this question, why can't I just stick to anything? Why do I keep changing? I never had that one moment. This is what I want to be. I just kept searching. And eventually, my body actually made me stop. I went into what I now know was an executive burnout. But at the time, I had no idea what was happening. I couldn't be at home alone. I would shake. My body started doing things I couldn't control, like seizure type episodes. And I honestly was terrified. Even just sitting here talking about it, I've got to fight back the tears because it was terrifying. It got so bad, I needed someone with me all the time. Oh my lordy, this one's actually hitting me a bit harder than what I thought it would have. You know, my husband, Mr. Sassy, stayed home from work a lot, and eventually I called my parents. They were on holidays, traveling around, and they drove 15 to 20 hours in 2 days just to get to me. They knew because I wasn't a kid or a person who would honestly call and ask for help. I never did. I always just made everything, you know, I got through it some way, shape or form. I've never been one to ask anybody for help. I've always been, she'll be right, mate. I've got this. I know what I'm doing, and I'd get through it. But when I had that, I knew I was not right. There was something seriously wrong with me, and I didn't know how to fix it. I saw a couple of doctors, and they kept telling me that I was just depressed, but I knew I wasn't. It wasn't it. I wasn't depressed, and I'm not putting anything against anyone who's, you know, had mental health issues, because I've been there. I've had mental health issues myself, and I just knew, though, that this wasn't that. It wasn't mental health. I eventually, after, you know, fighting against the doctors and everything, I got referred to a psychologist. And in that first session, she asked me, "Do you have ADHD?" And my response was, "I don't know." But as we talked, everything started to make sense. I got assessed, and I found out I had ADHD. Now, I didn't just have, you know, there's levels. This is the way she tested me. I know I'm going to have people questioning what I say and everything. I can only talk on my experience of finding out for myself. I can't talk on anybody else's. I can only talk on my own. Now, this psychologist had done all of her courses and everything so that she was qualified to be able to do these testings and actually say if somebody had ADHD or not. So that is, I found out through her and her qualifications. She did the tests on me, and I've also got dyslexia, as I have said a lot of times. And I can't remember if it was 91.6% or 96.1% that I have, you know, a high scale of ADHD. So I don't, it's not just a mild, it's quite high. And when she told me that and explained everything to me in them, you know, consultations that I was having, suddenly everything inside me just clicked. All the dots were being connected. Why I couldn't just stick to things, why I would hyperfixate on stuff, why I'd forget to eat, why I'd forget to drink, why I'd push myself too far and then burn out. That burnout wasn't random. It was years and years of not understanding how my brain worked. I went into survival mode and I slowed everything down. I had to, because at that point it felt like survival. I was definitely in survival mode. I didn't know if I was going to be okay. I had major fear throughout this. I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. I knew what was happening, but, she gave me a lot of paperwork to work on stuff. And after doing some of those exercises, everything sort of started to settle and that, but I still couldn't be alone. I'd call my mum in the mornings when Mr. Sassy had gone to work just to stay calm. And then a breakthrough happened. I actually got to stay at home by myself. Yes, I would go live a lot so that I get a lot of people ask me, why do you go live so often? And I'd always just be like, because I want to. But somehow the more that I've even in the last few weeks or months, I've actually noticed that maybe I used that as a coping mechanism to make sure that there was still someone there keeping me calm, keeping me grounded. But I made a massive breakthrough the other day. I was so proud of myself. I actually stayed at home alone or by myself. That was amazing in itself because, like I said, I've done that, but I didn't go live. I didn't call anyone. I didn't need anyone else to reassure me that I was safe. I did it myself. And that's been a long time coming from the last couple of years, really fighting through this executive burnout. Now, that might sound small to some people, but for me, that's everything. I'm so proud of myself for doing that. I really, really am. And throughout all of this, I was still creating content. I never fully stopped creating my content. It was the one thing that over the last 3.5 years that I've been doing it, I've never stopped. But about 1.5 years ago, I made a decision. I'm not just going to post what I want. I'm going to post what I want. And that changed everything. My page started to grow, but more importantly, my love for it changed. Before, it was about numbers. Now, I just love creating. And that's how I know this is different. Because no matter what I've been through, I didn't walk away. And normally, I would have. But this is my thing. I'm not chasing the next shiny object anymore. This is the one I stayed for. It's not the money. It's not the deals. It's the people, the messages, and the impact. You can't replace that. If there's one thing I've learnt, it's this. Sometimes you're not the problem. You just haven't found the thing that fits you yet. And when you do, you won't want to walk away. If this episode hits a little bit deeper for you, just know you're not alone. And if you do want to hear more of the deeper side of this story, go over to the subscriber only episodes. I will be posting a even further insight into this. But for now, thank you for being here, And I'll see yous all in the next Mama Sass's Life Unfiltered. Take care and look after yourself, guys.